Okay, live again. I hope you appreciate these very frequent live streams. And we talk about all sorts of things here, which which is nice, I guess. We have a wonderful community here in the chat. And by the way, you have to be subscribed to the channel if you want to join the chat. That's a good way to keep the trolls away. And as a Norwegian, I know a little bit about dealing with trolls. Haha. Hi there, Angela. Hello. Good morning or good evening. It's very early morning here. Um, yeah, we're going to talk about a topic that seems to get people all worked up. It's a very emotional topic. I think the guns in the USA is the only thing that people are so sensitive about that. They're more sensitive about guns than Jesus in the USA, I think. And as a Norwegian, we were disarmed, and we had the government. Now, what happened some years ago, many years ago, was that all Norwegians they formed a line outside the local governmental offices and so on, and they handed in all their guns, and they were disarmed. And since then, Norway has been a horrible place, a tyranny, and we don't have any rights because we gave away our guns. And there is one gun in Norway in a museum, and you can pay money to go in and have a look at the gun. And we don't know anything about guns here, and that's why we also are flooded by Muslim immigrants because we don't have guns. Yeah, all of that is just that's just a joke. I hope you understand. That's a joke. No, but it's because I get sometimes I think from the comments that I see that there are people who actually think that. So no, there are lots of guns in Norway. Too many. There are if you're in the what's it called, Heimevernet, the home defense division of the army, you're required to keep a gun at home that was issued to you. And hunting is big here, of course, so there are rifles and shotguns everywhere. And if you're part of a shooting club, you can keep, after a little while, you can keep your guns, your pistols and whatever at home. So yeah, but every time I say that, it's my little joke, then there are people who actually think that it's true, which is disturbing. It is disturbing. So yeah, Laura is here, KP Heathen is here, and Van Transit from Yorkshire. Wonderful. I'm such a big fan of of England. I am. I love England. Woodsman Bushcraft is here. Wonderful. Daniel is here. David. Yeah. So here's here's what I'm observing. I am watching what's happening in the USA now with ICE and the protesters and the killings and all of that. I'm looking at the AI fake photos and some videos too being utilized to further someone's cause and angle on that situation. And people are fooled by the AI now. And I think it was Donald Trump's son, one of the sons, has shared a video making, what's his name? It's Alex Pretty, making him look very aggressive. Um, and as far as I understand, as someone who edits videos all of the time, some of that was sped up. The speed was increased in a one part to make it look more aggressive, and they cut out a part in the middle. That's where he kicks the car. They cut out a part in the middle where the ICE agent is very aggressive. So yeah, these are dishonest people. Um, but I want to attack the idea that the reason why you need to have the Second Amendment. Well, I actually support the Second Amendment, but um, I don't believe in the idea that Americans are so superior to other people because they have guns. I don't believe in the idea that the people will rise up against tyranny with their guns, and they can do that because they have guns. Because we're now at least the second instance of governmental um, overreach. The first one was the lockdowns during COVID, and I can't see how they were constitutional. I really can't see how that was done in was aligned with the constitution in the USA. In Norway, they did not do all of those things, and the reason, as far as I remember, was that it would have been unconstitutional, so against the Norwegian constitution. Now, I wouldn't say that. Now, it is my belief that the then conservative government, the heads of that government, should be in prison. That is my opinion. That is still my opinion during the COVID crisis here in Norway, because what they did was a crime. They should be held responsible for that. I will never forgive what they did. But if we look at the USA, I think that if you still believe that the people will rise up against tyranny because they have guns, or that they will do it at all, it's naive. Because if what you're looking at now is an unconstitutional overreach of the government, you're looking at the iron heel. You know that expression, it's often being used describing the brown shirts terrorizing people in 1930s Germany, and they were just bullies, you know, and the bullies in Stalin's Soviet Union. That's the iron heel of the government, and you are seeing the same in the USA now. And I see these fucking idiots that are these conservative talking heads on YouTube and other social media platforms defending what ICE is doing now. Now, don't get me wrong, I support um, um, sending illegal immigrants out of the country. We do that in Norway. It's just that the method is wrong. You can't beat people up in the street. You just can't do that. When you do that, you are having an authoritarian government. That's what we're looking at now. Um, and it doesn't matter if people are standing there shouting at you. It doesn't matter if people are kicking and at the officers, the agents' cars. It doesn't matter. Yes, that should result in a physical. They should physically control that person so that it doesn't escalate. But what they did there, you know, with, I mean, you shouldn't kill people for that. It's should be obvious, right? But when people are killed, and also, what was her name? She was just shot in the face, and I won't say the name. And also, she was, well, I can say the agent called her bitch and so on. These are just bullies, and when these talking heads on social media, they're sitting there defending that, then these people, those talking heads on social media, should never, ever again be trusted. Because if you defend this, you're not for freedom. You're not even in support of the Second Amendment. You're not for is freedom of speech. Is that the First Amendment? Um, you're not in support of that. You're in support of tyranny. So never forget these people, what they are saying. If they are in support of this, they are not also in support of freedom. Renee Good. Yeah, sorry, I forgot. They are attacked while trying to do their jobs. Well, maybe so, but that should not be a death sentence. That should also be obvious. So people in the USA, they did not rise up during COVID when they were locked in their houses. They're not rising up now when people are being terrorized in the streets. And mind you, in the USA, as last time I checked, the illegal immigration has been allowed to keep going for so long that it's now an integrated part of the economy. So obviously that should never have been allowed to happen because it drives down the wages. Um, it should never have been allowed to happen. The First Amendment is speech. Okay, yeah. Um, so it's like, when are you going to rise up against tyranny? Now, don't get me wrong here. I am not saying that you should rise up and use violence. I'm not saying that. Not at all. So this is not to be taken as a no. That's, I mean, I'm not for violence. Okay, I want to make that very clear. So it's like I see some people now defending what's happening. Have you not seen what they are doing? So with Alex Pretty, they first removed his gun, and then an agent stooped down and shot him and killed him. And one of the other agents saluted that once he was clapping. Now you tell me that that's justified? Do you think that's justified? If you do, you are in support of tyranny. You're not in support of freedom. So it's like, do I defend someone kicking that car? No, of course I don't. I also think it's very stupid to go to a protest with a gun in a holster in your trousers. I think that's very stupid. Should you be killed for that? No. Again, that should be obvious. It should be obvious. So you see, this is we can turn it around. We could turn it around if this was, let's say this was something that if you support that, then let's see, you probably hate um you probably hate the woke transgender and all of that rubbish. um that sort of thing. So let's say that they were um the ICE agents were not ICE agents, but they were some sort of police force um, protecting a transgender parade or something like that, with naked men dancing, something like that, that I wouldn't want to see. Um, and then you had someone who was a Christian with a gun who protested against that and stepped forward and kicked the car um, of the agent who was protecting that parade, and then he got the same treatment as Alex Pretty got. You see how this works? Yeah, I don't think you would have been saying the same things if it was like that. But what you need to understand is that this is not about the cause. It is not even about striking down upon illegal immigration. It is about the method, and it is about your rights as an individual. You have the right to stay alive if you do something stupid like that. If you kick a police car, yes, I think that, and you have a gun, yes, I think that you should be physically controlled, but you should not be killed. Again, it should be obvious. And if you're saying that, oh, it's so difficult for these agents, well, we have had cases where the police have shot during the Black Lives Matter and all of that. They propped up cases where the police shot, um, as they like to call it, people of color and all of that. And those cases were, don't get me wrong, I don't support shooting people. But those were more like, you could argue that the police officer was in a difficult situation and made a wrong judgment or something like that. But in these two cases here, these two killings here, you can't argue that. You can't. You really can't. And also, I mean, it's possible, it's possible that maybe you've seen these edited versions to make it look in a different way, from a different angle, and so on. But try better, you know. But of course, also, if you do think that you deserve to be killed, if you kick a police car or something like that, yeah, that's fair. But I disagree with you, and you can never ever say that you are a defender of freedom or individual rights, right? So let's make that very clear. Um, Now, I think that we have a comment here. Let's see, I'll just find it. In Yeah, underachiever files is in Brazil. There's a saying: most men can't even shoot a urinal. Imagine aiming a gun. Sadly, lots of guns here too. Yeah, yeah. I've always thought that the emphasis on guns is a little bit foolish. Um, even if you look at wars, it's like historically, what is killing people? It's not the guns; it's dysentery, not dysentery. So you die after an extended period of diarrhea. Um, it's cold weather. It's all sorts of things. Starvation. Um, yeah, um, but I get it. In the USA, the guns is like it's been used as this. And don't please don't. Some people will do it anyway, but don't come here and say, "Oh, you're anti-gun." No, no, I'm not anti-gun. No, guns are just tools, and I don't even think that guns kill people. People kill people, um, but it's an illusion and it's a fantasy when you are looking at your 100 guns. Well, unless you collect and that's your interest, that's your hobby, then that's fair. But you're looking at your 100 guns and you you're telling yourself, I have a 100 guns, so I'm such a free individual. This must be the most free country on the planet since I have all these guns. It has nothing to do with that. Nothing. It is not about that. And also, I think that these politicians, they use that to make people feel free. It's like they give people this toy and they say, "Oh, look at this. Um, you have this. All you can have your guns now, and so you're such a free individual." While they take away your rights. So, um, uh, Scott Christensen says, if you have a football team with no training, that equals Americans with guns. Um, Teddy says, did you see Alex Jones' video? No, I didn't. Where he says he's already looking at his neighbors and planning on eating them. Um, well, isn't he quite fat? Why would he need to eat his neighbors? Are you free in Norway? Um, I will see that we have. I will say we. It's early for me, so I'm mixing in some Norwegian words here. Sorry about that. I will say that we have a high degree of freedom. You won't be mistreated by the police if you do something stupid, except of course if you're I don't know, you're doing something crazy and violent. Of course, the police have to step in there. And there was recently a case with one, two, or three police officers on camera beating a guy violently, and it was like this big thing in the media. But then uh, it appeared that this guy had he had some sort of martial arts weapon and he was on drugs and all of that. So yeah. No, I feel free here. Absolutely. We have the right to roam, so we can walk and camp wherever we want. So, yeah, among the countries I have traveled to, um, including the USA, um, I feel most freedom in Norway and Sweden, I would say. Yeah. Um, if you pee Kristiansand, it's pretty expensive, I heard. Yeah, you can get fined if you urinate in the public, in a town. Yeah, and actually, and this is it's a bit of a nasty, no, this disgusting joke, right? If your dog defecates in the street and you don't pick it up, you can get a fine, I believe. Um, and the thing is, at least this is what I've heard, that if a human being defecates in the street, you will also get a fine, but that fine is not as high as if your dog does it. So it's like, here comes the joke. Here comes the joke. Okay. So if you're caught there with a steaming pile of crap, and the police comes, you should say, no, no, I did it. It's mine, because that's cheaper. Um, Ricardo says, but you don't have freedom to do what you want with your own property in Norway. What? We do. Why do you think that? Well, you can't just build a massive tower uh, just like that. You need to apply for permission to extend your house if it's more than this and that square meters. But of course, I can do what I want on my property and with my property within reasons. There's a lot of um, strange ideas about Norway. Uh, but yeah, it's a hard life. We have to fight the polar bears in the streets and the trolls. Um, and it's like, if you go to Greenland, you also have to befriend the penguins and walk. If you do that, they will take your hand and you can walk across the ice with the penguin. It will be your friend. Yeah, on Greenland. um, yes. Some people didn't get my joke. Um, oh, Ricardo, you can't drive your tractor up in your woods. Well, I think that's because we want to protect wildlife and nature. Ricardo is Norwegian. You have no weird ideas. I think you have a weird idea there, that you can't do what you want. Well, I guess you're right. You can't do whatever you want on your own property. And I think that's a good thing, because we are stewards of nature and this country for the next generation. So we should not destroy it. Yeah, you did get the joke. Okay. Yeah, under geophiles, penguins in the North Pole. Yeah, because the White House, they actually, in the USA, they put this image. They like AI, so they make these AI images, and they put out this image on social media with Trump hand in hand with a penguin on Greenland. And don't tell me that that was just a joke, and that they know there are no penguins on Greenland. I think that they are actually that stupid and ignorant. So, um, question: is your border open to thousands to come live in your country and receive money benefits paid by the government. No, no, it's not open to thousands to come here. Um, that is actually not true. So I will say that I think that the immigration has been too high into Norway. That's my opinion, but it's low. If you compare it to the USA, it's very low. We have very little immigration in Norway compared to the USA, and also to if you compare it to the EU countries. Uh, so, oh yeah, the penguin is holding an American flag. Yeah, it's very cute. I like that. I like that photo, that AI image. I don't like AI, but I think it was a cute image. Yeah. Do I think Trump is stupid? No, I don't think Trump is stupid. I think he's demented. I think he was an intelligent man, but not so much anymore. Um, no, no, I'm not a doctor, so I mean, demented. There is some dementia going on there. Jeffrey says, should we call it Greenland or Trump's new name for it, Iceland? Yeah, he was standing there and talking to the goons at Davos, and he started talking about Iceland. As I think he mistook Greenland for Iceland, and maybe he thought about ice and Iceland. There's a story that about the Vikings that they were smart people, and when Eric the Red, he became an outlaw first in Norway and then on Greenland because he killed a man in Norway and he killed a man on Greenland, and then he became an outlaw. He went to Greenland. No, sorry, he became. I'll do. Sorry, not. He became an outlaw in Norway and then also on Iceland. It's very Iceland and Greenland. Now I'm mixing it up. Yeah. But so he went to Greenland and he established a settlement there, or two settlements. Now, some say that the reason that he called it Greenland was that would convince people on Iceland to come and live on Greenland. Uh, but I don't know. In reality, I mean, since that was a warm period of the medieval age, they could grow crops there on Greenland, and it looks green. If you go to Greenland during the summer, it does look green along the coast. Uh, Jeffrey says about Trump, nothing wrong with his mental status. It isn't a crime to be dumb and uneducated. Well, I'm just referring to how he talks, and if you look at footage from when he was like much younger, he was quite articulate. Not so much now. Yeah. Dove Finport says, yeah, you voted for him three times. Done with him. Yeah, I actually don't think Trump is the problem. I think it is the people around him that they are the problem. You have people like Stephen Miller and J.D. Vance and these Mar-a-Lago, Mar-a-Laga, what is it? The women with the Mar-a-Lago faces. Um, they are the problem, the way I see it. And it's a big shame because then Denmark. I was just reading a commentary. Um, no, the USA deserves better than this. Why not elect someone a little bit younger next time, who is not all about ideology, but and God and Jesus and whatever, but just fixing the economy, um, making it so that it's easier for people to live a decent life. More mental health care, restricting the access to narcotics and so on. Why not do that? But no, don't listen to me. I'm just a stupid Norwegian sitting here. I don't know anything about anything. We'll elect JD in 2028, says Hatchet Jack. Well, if you do, um, it's it's done. It's over. If you do, you will then have a USA completely isolated from all countries except the ones that they have financially or militarily conquered. Um, and it will be horrible for the people in the USA. I really hope that will not happen. Um, the EU and India just they signed the mother of all trade deals, so that makes up around 25% of the world economy. That's what I read, and it's not good news for it's not good news for the USA that the EU is actually turning around and opening up towards the BRICS countries. The BRICS countries, that economy is massive, you know. Um, uh, yeah, yeah, shark canines. Yeah, EU and India bypassing the USA. Yeah, that's what they are doing there. Now, of course, it is some people are saying that with that trade deal, it will open up to more immigration into the EU. I don't know about that. It is a trade deal. I might be wrong if I say it. That's not what it's about. But I will be looking more into it. But when it comes to finance and trade, it's massive. Um, yeah. No, I'm not saying it will result in more immigration. I'm not saying that. Um, some people are saying that. Yeah, but yeah, it is interesting. It is interesting to see, what's going to be happening in the USA moving on, when now that the ICE agents, they are supposed to kind of move a little bit more out of Minneapolis, I believe, or at least don't be so they're supposed not to be so aggressive. I don't know. It was if you want to know, when it comes to the ICE agents and all of that, those people, that whole mess, I think it was a classic power move from the present administration in the USA. That was what it was about. I don't think that was about um, dealing with illegal immigration. Now, I believe that Texas has more illegal immigration than Minneapolis. Why are they not there? Because Minneapolis is a Democrat-run city. If I'm not mistaken, um, and it looks a lot like the way it was done. It looks like the people around Trump having made the decision, okay, we will show people that we are not afraid to kill them and beat them up in the streets if they do not bend the knee, if they do not obey. And then what happened was that it didn't work and they had to pull back. That's what I think. Mm. So um, I will add to this that and this is not going to be a popular opinion, you know. Most of my opinions are not popular. There's a term called useful idiots, and I think that a lot of the protests, those people were useful idiots because they should understand that in this age of social media, AI, and creative editing, it's very easy to make it look like whatever these ICE agents are doing, it's justified. So there was this church where these people they went in there and made a noise and so on, non-violent, but it was disruptive. And if I had been in that church, now I don't go to church, but if I had been in a place and I had had those people coming in, it would have been very annoying. Um, but I prefer that to being beaten in the street. Um, and these right wing media talking heads get all worked up about that. They don't get worked up about people, leftists, as they call them, being shot and killed. That doesn't affect them so much. Um, but yeah, you know, they don't tell the whole story there, do they? That protest in that church, maybe you know, maybe you don't know. That protest in that church happened because the pastor is also an ICE agent. That's his hobby. So in daytime, he is a pastor. Nighttime, he's out in his combat ICE agent gear, catching illegal immigrants. That's very cute. And the protest happened shortly after that woman was killed. But they don't tell that story, do they? Yeah, funny how that works. People leave out the parts that don't fit with their narrative. So, someone says warrior priest based. The ICE agents are not warriors, they're bullies. There's a difference there. A warrior is someone who goes to war, someone who beats mostly defenseless people up in the streets, who separates babies from their mothers. That's not a warrior, that's a bully. Big difference. Um, so, has anyone in the Norwegian government issued a public statement regarding their opinion on the recent killings in the USA? I don't think so. It's outside of what politicians will be issuing statements about. Um, we have issued statements about Greenland because we are a member of NATO. So the statement is that we support Denmark's autonomy and Greenland's autonomy. What that means is that I mean, those words are not, they're not like the goons around. I like that word, goon. I'm going to use it more. The goons surrounding Trump, they would use other words because they like to bark and use big words. We're not like that here. So when the Prime Minister of Norway says that we support Denmark, what that means is that if the USA should invade Greenland and NATO responds, Norwegian soldiers would be part of the NATO force fighting. That's what it means. So, and that's how we tend to word things here. Um, so, let's see here. Let's see. Yeah, Greenland is, of course, very interesting. I am making a video, by the way, about Norway's. No, yeah, well, you could say Norway's, but the Viking history of the Americas. So North America, excluding Greenland. I'll be out making that video as soon as I get some daylight. It will be on my main channel Saturday. Um, oh, you found an summer job position museum on Greenland. May apply if I can find the time. Yeah, I would love to go to Greenland in the summer. I think it's very, very cold during the winters. Um, yeah. Um, yeah. What is a warrior? I mean, historically, soldiers have been killing civilians. Like that's a fact. That, but it's like I tend to want to think that warrior. If you're a warrior, you're more than just a soldier. A warrior doesn't beat women in the streets. So, uh, yeah, underachieved files. The Vikings had to go away at one point. Some winters were too harsh even for them. Yeah, um, yeah, that's true. But they stayed until around 1400. So that's 400 years. So the climate got colder and it became difficult to grow crops there and so on. So they left eventually, as far as I remember. Laura, how far south did the Norse travel in North America? You will have to watch my video on the main channel on Saturday for that. Um, yeah, I don't. Crucifixed her says that I voted for Trump 3 times. It took me this long to see that he's not the man we voted for. Well, don't judge yourself so harshly, because I think what we are looking at now is someone who is not right. He's not all there, if you get what I'm saying. And I believe again that it's Trump is not really the problem. It is the people around him. That's my that's what I think. And the people around him are very problematic. And you, I mean, if you listen to what J.D. Vance is saying, if you listen to, this guy Stephen Miller, who has a lot more power than people realize, by the way, it's very extreme and it's very inflammatory. And you really have to see, you have to understand how, when it comes to, let's forget about Trump for a while. If you look at J.D. Vance, his whole the whole idea there that Europe is the problem, Europe is weak, Europe is being flooded with illegal immigrants, Europe has no power against the USA, and all of that. Uh, how do you think that me, as a European, and other Europeans, what do you think that, how are we supposed to be in support of that? It's like if I told you the USA is weak, you're being flooded with illegal immigrants, which is true. Um, you can't defend yourself. I think you can, but if I said all of these things about the USA constantly, you wouldn't like that. So, can't you see how this person with his small, soft hands is generating, he's creating a scapegoat, an enemy in, and he's doing that to prepare you for, I mean, he wants you to look at Europe, and a place that most Americans, they never go there, uh, so they can believe in this fantasy and these lies. Can't you see what's going on there? It's the classic move. That's what you do when you prepare your population for hard times, for lowering the living standards, for accepting the iron heel, for accepting all sorts of freedoms being taken away. Because he can keep saying, look at Europe, they're so weak and they're so poor. So we are better off than them. This is what is going on now. This is the reason why they are creating this enemy in Europe. And it's insane. Why the hell would I mean, we have this coalition between Europe and the USA, which is a wonderful coalition in many ways. I will say that NATO countries have just joined the USA in whatever war. That's been not been good at all. But and also they're say they have this lie about, oh, the USA is the country that spends the most on the military in NATO, and they keep repeating that lie. Well, but it's not true. So these people are lying, and they are lying. They are trying to lie so much and repeat lies so much that people just think that it must be true, but it's not. Now, obviously, if you just look at the numbers, the USA is the country that spends the most on the military in NATO. But if you compare it, if you look at the per capita numbers, well, they are quite high up there, but they're not at the top. Uh, is it Poland that is on the top now? Um, so it's like you can't expect smaller countries to spend as much as the USA. But if you look at the numbers per capita, then the image is completely different. But they don't care about that. They don't care about that. Um, we'll try to find out actually. In 2025, Norway surpassed the United States in NATO defense spending per capita, investing approximately $3,191 per person. Let's see here. Oh, Norway is on top. That's 2025. So, the USA is on second, actually. Norway is on top. United States, quite significantly lower than Norway, at $2,469 per capita. Denmark, 2,400 per capita. So it's right behind the United States. And then Luxembourg, 1,780, Netherlands, 1,553. Yeah. So, as you can see, these are lies. And facts matter. And if you look at the facts, everything that these people are saying just falls apart. If you had to bet on it, if Trump take Greenland by force, do you believe that Norwegian politicians would actually directly act against the U.S. Army stationed in Norway or send its army to Greenland? I think that two things would happen. They would close all the U.S. military bases or stations in Europe, and possibly seize all the equipment, and they would then immediately issue. They would utilize the trade bazooka, which would cripple the American economy. Yeah. Hatchet Jack says, doesn't sound like lies to me. Well, did you not hear the numbers? I just read them. Yeah. Now, so now this is quite stunning. I just read you the numbers, and okay, you don't believe that? Hatchet Jack says, cripple the American economy, LOL. So, a question to you, Hatchet Jack. What happens when the world stops using the US dollars as their reserve currency, and dumping the US bonds? What happens to the US economy? That's a big, bad wound in the American economy that won't stop bleeding. So I'm not making these things up. This is like there is no ideology here. I'm just stating the facts. You know, yeah, I listed per capita. Yeah, yeah. You think it's fair to compare the spending of the USA, the total spending, with the total spending of Sweden or Norway? I don't think that's fair. We could compare individual states in the USA with individual states in Europe. Yeah, Jeffrey, good point. The US doesn't spend money, we spend debt. That is very true. It's inflated. The budget for the military in the USA is inflated, and that's based on borrowing money. So if the US bonds are dumped, Denmark just started doing that, by the way. You wouldn't be able to spend nearly as much on anything. Yeah, Hatchet Jack, that is very true. Who spends the most, do you say? That is very true. But you have to look at it is a bigger economy. The US economy is almost as big as the EU economy. So, yeah, let me get that right, by the way. Um, Actually, I got it wrong. Let's see here if we can find the numbers. The US economy is actually larger than the EU economy. I would want to see the European economy. You know what? That's going to take a little bit longer. I didn't prepare that. Let's see here. Econofact. I only have the numbers for the EU economy, not the European economy. And an unknown fact is that the Russian economy, you know, we, we boycott Russia, but we still buy their oil and gas, as I always say, funny how that works. But anyway, the EU GDP in 2023, 18.59 trillion. And in 2023, the US GDP, 27.72 trillion. It gets complicated here. I think it is smaller if you if you also add the UK economy. No, sorry. That's something that takes a little bit longer to if I want if I it I don't have time for that now, but it's a big economy now, also joined by India, as I mentioned. So yeah, these people, in short, these people portraying Europe as the enemy, it's very foolish, and it's a classic move. They need to create an enemy, and they need to create an enemy because they are preparing you for less freedom and lowering your living standards. That's what's going on. you know, um, Europe is not your enemy. And as I say to people here, the USA is not our enemy. I mean, it's a very foolish. I hope we never get there where that is like that's the even if something very unlikely should happen, like the US invading Greenland. I don't think that will happen. But if that should happen, I will still say that the USA is not our enemy. It's not the fault. That would not be the fault of the people there. You know. Uh, yeah, I think also that the media in the USA is misrepresenting things. It's very subjective. I have a friend who managed to connect his VPN to get a VPN, by the way. He managed to connect his VPN to his TV, so that, and he put the USA there, so the TV thought that he was in the USA, and he sent me a message. He said, "This is the most degenerate shit I've ever seen." That was TV in the USA. Uh, I thought that was funny. Um, I would I be a good politician? I don't think so. I wouldn't last long. So, yeah. I mean, TV here is bad enough. I mean, what is on the TV? I'm not sure, but my impression is that you have news here that are basically just saying what the government wants you to hear. And you have reality TV shows with celebrities. Who is watching that? I wonder who's watching that. Eh, yeah, but yeah, it's at least we don't have ads for drugs and stuff like that. You know, so get lose weight tomorrow. Buy this pill. And I think the reality TV in and the programs in the USA are quite insane. And also you have these talk shows. I've seen some clips. It's crazy. It is completely crazy. I mean, what's her name? Oprah, Harvey Weinstein's fine little friend. Um, Everyone gets a car. Isn't that what she used to say? Dr. Phil. Yeah, I heard about Dr. Phil. Mm, yeah, and they are like, it seems like they are always propping up the most extreme cases of American life. Um, my husband was unfaithful with my sister, and now they are having a baby! Exclamation mark and things like that. Oh yeah, Jerry Springer. Yes, and then yeah, it's crazy. I've seen some clips on YouTube, and yeah, Yeah, disgusting sensationalism, absolutely. So, so who do you think will be the next president in the USA? You are not the father. Was that like the title of a show, TV show? You think J.D. Vance will be the next president? Well, he will be if Trump gets a stroke or something like that. You don't. David says, I don't think we'll have another president after Trump. Hmm. It was the Maury show. Okay. You are not the You are not the father talk show. That sounds like a positive thing to sit there and watch. Whenever Jerry Springer would say, "You are not the father," the man would get up and dance. Oh, Maury Povich. Um, Caesar Vance. Yeah. Jim Carrey. That would be very funny. Yeah. I don't know so much about Jim Carrey, except I've seen him when he's coming out of the rear end of that fake rhinoceros. And so, because of that, I think, yes, absolutely, he should be president. Jesse Ventura, Arnold Schwarzenegger, Jim Carrey. Is he Canadian now? Okay. Maybe they can dig up Joe Biden. No, sorry, that was nasty. No, I just hope that I don't care so much if it's Republican or Democrat. I just hope it's someone sensible who is maybe a little bit younger, you know. Yeah, that's what I hope, and someone who's not just all about talking about Jesus. No, they don't say Jesus. Jesus is woke, apparently. No, they say Christ and all of that. Yeah. And someone who doesn't support the crazy liberal abortion rights either. But that combination, it's I think you get either one extreme or the other extreme, I think. Tulsi Gabbard. Um, yeah, well, Tulsi Vance. Next president will be AI. Wes says, I have a bad feeling the next president is going to be even worse for some reason, all by design. You know who could be president? Kennedy. I actually think that he could become the next president. It's possible. And I don't think Kamala Harris will be the Democratic presidential candidate. I think she had her chance. Gavin Newsom, I think he's too unpopular. RFK has too many skeletons in the closet, literally. Yeah, maybe. Um, yeah, Gavin Newsom will throw his hat in for presidency. Yeah, but he seems to be too needy. It could be someone who just comes from nowhere. Also, so yeah, I think an AI generated SpongeBob will be the next president, and he will be an independent, the first independent SpongeBob to be president. Yeah, but I don't know. I don't know. I saw an image or something, or maybe just a YouTube thumbnail about The Rock. What's his name? That actor, the big one on steroids, that he would run for president 2028. But you never know what is real and what is fake these days. So Dwayne Johnson. So yeah, so I don't know. I don't know. But it wouldn't surprise me. You know, he stopped roids, did he? Oh, okay. I kind of doubt that because I think at his age, is my age actually, if you've been doing that your whole life, as he probably has, um, your natural production of testosterone is just not there anymore. So you have to maintain a certain level artificially because it's destroyed his hormonal balance. But that's beside the point here. I maybe he's he could maybe have a good chance. I don't know. I don't know. I'm not like a big fan, so it's not like I need to watch his movies. But I saw a movie with him where he's up in a big skyscraper and fighting the villains, and he lost his leg and things like that. Yeah, I saw that movie. Yeah, yeah, Teddy. He would have to be on TRT, testosterone replacement therapy, forever. That is probably true. Um, Rock seems nice. Yeah, it does seem nice. He's quite seems like a nice guy, I would say. Um, but as a politician, I don't know. Um Trump's crazy press secretary. Who's that again? Um, is that woman? And also you have the very Christian guy who ran for president against Trump as a Republican. What's his name? DeSantis? Was that? Is that him? And the press secretary Pam Bondi, Ilhan Omar, Caroline Leavitt, Ted Cruz. Yes, Ted Cruz. Yeah, yeah. He probably will run. I hope he doesn't win because he's like one of these. He's like a puppet for Israel, isn't he? Not sure of the Rock's political views. I'm not sure either. Well, I think he's a Democrat. Yeah. AOC, yes, actually, that could happen. She's like she would be a good candidate if you get this effect, the pendulum effect. Now it's to the right, and then it goes far to the left, and she would be right there to for that. She has zero chance. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. I think after having witnessed the debates or the people arguing, it's not really debates anymore, is it? It You don't have to be very articulate anymore. So yeah, I really don't hope it's JD Vance. Well, he will probably run, but uh, it makes me want to throw up, honestly. I think they will run Newsom and AOC for the Dems and Vance and DeSantis for GOP. Hatchet Jack, why don't you like JD? Well, for the same reason as you wouldn't like someone from Europe telling you, I suppose you're American, that your country is weak and wrong in every way. You wouldn't like that person. And also the lies. I mean, he's lying in such a way that he probably believes in his lies. Um, it's horrible to listen to that man. And I'm using the word man in its widest meaning here. Yeah. No, I think he should stay in his sofa, pleasuring himself. And he shouldn't be in politics. Yeah. You think he will win? Who knows? Who knows where things will be in 3 years from now? Things are happening so quickly, and now also you have AI, and already AI is now so lifelike that you don't know what's real or fake anymore. And in 3 years from now, I think honestly that AI will be a deciding factor in the campaigns, and I don't know, but it will be very different from now. Whoever controls that will control the opinion in the people. Audrey says, hot American man for president. Yeah, Nexus Gaming says, no one in this admin will win. This last occurrence with Homeland will ensure that. Yeah. Stealth mode. My wife and I visit Norway and she gives birth to a child. Is that child automatically a Norwegian citizen and the mother? No. No. Thank you for your donation, sweet Polly. There, actually, I think I saw another one here. Where is it? Did I miss a super chat? Did I miss it? If I missed it, I'm really sorry. Really sorry about that. If you gave me a super chat and I didn't say thank you, I'm really sorry. But I can't. It's not here anymore. In the panel here. Let's see. Hold on, maybe. Oh yeah. Wow. Here they are. Um, sorry. Crucifixed. Thank you for your donation. You're saying that one armed man can't stand against an army. Organize statewide groups with the training and organization stand a better chance, better than nothing. And a big boss. Are you shadow banned? I'm sorry to hear that. But thank you for the donation. Scott, thank you so much for the donation there. Yeah, I found this thing here. Let's see. Let's see here. Yeah. Hold on. I'm getting to it. Oh, Tara. Well, thank you so much for your donation. So nice of you. Thank you. With someone there on a wheel or something. That's funny. Thank you, Angela. Thank you. Yeah, well, I don't know about these politicians. I honestly don't know. I think that I think it's a tough job to have, and also I think that it is something that if you're a person with integrity and you won't be bought, you will have a hard time making it as a politician, and because of that, I think that you get corrupt people in positions of power. And it's like, I'll tell you a funny story from Norway. And it political debates there are not like in the USA. They are more friendly, you know. And there was like they in Stortinget, I guess you would say Congress, and the prime minister, I think it was the prime minister who was standing there and holding a speech or saying something, I think, and the other guy from the Conservative Party, for some reason, he walked over to him and he gave him some sweets. It was just a funny thing, a gag, like sweets that kids get for on Saturday evening, and he gave it to him. And then we actually have a president in Norway. Did you know? But he's got a different role, and he sits on top there in the behind the desk, and he stood up and he walked down to the prime minister and he grabbed the sweets or candy, and then he walked up again to his desk and he said, "We will not tolerate this here in this Stortinget Congress. It's against the rules." And everyone thought that was so hilarious because the prime minister was so disappointed. He had his candy taken away by the president. And it was a big laugh, actually. But, you know, as far as I understand, that was all about you're not allowed to receive gifts as a politician. Not even some sweets or candy. So it's and this other politician, the conservative politician, he didn't think about that, of course, because it was just some candy. But no, it was strict. It's strict. We are not allowing that here. Not saying that there are no corrupt politicians in Norway. I actually think that there are quite a lot of them, especially on a local level. but it was funny. And I think that if we compare it to the USA and other countries where these elected officials are investing in stocks and they are also making decisions affecting the value of those stocks, I mean, I call that corruption. So, um, yeah, he probably wanted the sweets for himself. Yeah, that's that's exactly what people were saying in social media and so on. But the funniest part was the expression on the prime minister's face. He looked exactly like a child who have been his candy taken away. Very, very funny. Um, yeah, yeah. You have Nancy Pelosi. She's deeply corrupt. How can that be allowed to continue? Um, so what's this? Are we here again? Jamie, or protect yourself. Oh, wait, sorry, I forgot you're disarmed. You didn't get it, did you? You'll have to scroll back, unless that's a joke or ironic thing to say. You'll have to scroll back to inform yourself. Um, yeah, so let's see here. Yeah, but okay. I'm just repeating myself here, I guess. I just wanted to um, say a few words about this idea where, yeah, you know what? I'm not going there again. You'll have to scroll back to the beginning. Okay. Uh, Hatchet Jack, Rich Man North of Richmond. Yeah, that's a good song. That's a good song. So, yeah, Trump is a billionaire north of Richmond. Yeah, absolutely. Hmm. Yeah, we'll leave it at that. And I absolutely don't think that I have changed anyone's mind with this live stream, but it was hopefully enjoyable in some way. Okay. Um, yeah, we'll leave it at that. Have a nice evening or morning.